If you do any prospecting with LinkedIn, you have got to go get set up with Surf. That's SURFE. It's a tool you can use to add new contacts to your CRM system directly from LinkedIn in seconds. I'm using it every single day. I add contacts, follow my deals, keep track of notes, and it ends up saving me a bunch of time on prospecting and outreach, which means I can spend more time moving my deals along. The data is always 100% accurate since I don't have to copy and paste all the fields over from each and every contact that I want to put in my CRM. Instead, Surf does that all automatically with just one click in about 60 seconds. The team over at Surf has put together a very special offer for fans of sales players. There's a link down in the show notes, and you can use the promo code JWSurf5. Don't forget the E at the end of Surf. That's JWSurf5 for 5% off your first year. Don't spend another minute doing things manually. Go get set up with Surf. Hey everybody, it's Jesse here with another SaaS selling tip. And I realize it's been a couple of weeks since I put any content out. The last episode that dropped was the one I did with Zachary Ballinger, who was my colleague and very close friend from several years back. Definitely check out that episode if you haven't listened to it already. We had a lot of fun. We got a little rowdy, but we covered some really interesting and in some cases kind of edgy topics compared to what I'd normally talk about on the show. So definitely check that episode out. The reason I've been so busy and in this case silent, I haven't put out any new content in a couple of weeks, was I've actually been working on the largest sale that I've ever done in my career thus far, and I'm super excited about it. I'll give you as much detail as I can, although I'm not going to reveal who the client is or any specifics around the dollar size or anything like that. But it's a fairly large deal that I'm working on. It's an annual deal with a large, sort of B2C consumer. I'll say that they're in the home services segment and they're based in the United States. So we've been working with this company as a pilot customer over the last few months. And I was thrilled that they've, sort of reached out and wanted to look at what their options were for renewing with us and rolling in, more SaaS for 2021. They've tested our product at this point. There's been buy-in from leadership. And then they've just had a lot of success thus far. It's only been a couple of months since we started working with them, but they're seeing results. They're seeing ROI. The products worked out really well for them, and they want to go big for 2021. So I'm, feel very fortunate to have been able to work this opportunity. It's been, something of a roller coaster because it's been a lot of work trying to make sure the right people were engaged in the deal cycle. One of the things that I've thought a lot about as far as, what I've done well in this, if I'm giving myself good feedback, there's of course always things that I could do better. But one of the things, and I highly encourage this if you're working on large scale deal cycles in the, multiple 6-figure or 7-figure range, is, of course, making sure that you have multiple threads going in every deal cycle. What do I mean by multiple threads? Well, you should have probably at least 3, but maybe even more stakeholders involved in this given deal, in any given deal, especially the larger scale ones when you're talking about spending a lot of money, like I said, hundreds of thousands of dollars or into the 7 figures. So if you have just one point of contact that you're working with on the project and that person, gets let go or gets, moves to a new city, moves on from the company, whatever it is, or decides that they don't want to push very hard to get a large scale contract done, it can really limit your ability to have control over the deal cycle by having only one contact. And most people know this, especially in the enterprise world, that it's really important to run multiple threads around a deal. So what are some ways that you can do that? Let me tell you about this specific deal and one of the things that I did. I had found out early on that one of the director level contacts is actually based in the city that I'm in, Phoenix, Arizona. And I knew he was here, and I sat on this for a while because of the pandemic. I didn't want to try to push for an on-site meeting. But one of the things I did was I sent him an email and just said, look, maybe it's not a good time for us to get together for a happy hour for coffee. There's a global pandemic going on right now, and it's probably not best to get out and about. But if there's any chance you do want to get together, I'd be willing to do some sort of an outdoor patio setup where we're not in a bar or in a coffee shop breathing in, possibly breathing in the coronavirus, right? So I reached out to him just via email and said, I know we're based in the same city. We've of course, met as part of this deal cycle, but I'd like to get some FaceTime with you if possible. Now, turns out he's actually no longer living here. He's actually moved to a new city since I first got acquainted with him. And as such, we didn't have an opportunity to get together in person, but we did start to build from there kind of a more personal relationship via phone, text messaging, and cell phone. We're kind of on a cell phone basis. So after that, having that stakeholder in the deal cycle was really helpful, because he was able to give me the feedback that I needed to make sure that the offer was competitive, to make sure that we were putting the right resources together for their team as they were preparing to present to their finance group and to their president, actually. And so at that point, I had 3 stakeholders in the deal, 4 if you count a technical resource that I was looping into different things. So it's really good to have a couple of different people that you can go to when you're working on a deal cycle like this, so that if anyone goes dark on you, you've got someone else to go to. And in this case, I was working with a senior director, a director, and then a manager level contact. So I had a pretty good span of leadership breadth there in the deal. I could have even gone higher, and can, if I'm giving myself sort of Monday morning quarterback feedback, it would be, how could I now go to the executive level, the vice president? How do I get, the senior executives engaged in what we're doing? It sounds like they're at least aware of what we're doing, but I don't have that direct access. And that's probably the next phase as we continue to grow this partnership. So that is a quick, tip in the importance of multi-threaded deals. If you're working on a deal right now and you only have one contact that you're in touch with to drive the deal along, there's a couple of different approaches you can take to adding another thread or another 2 or 3 threads into the deal. So one of those would be proposing to your contact a meeting with a broader team. That's it can feel like an awkward conversation the first time you have it, but once you do it a few times, it'll start to feel more familiar. But basically, let's say I'm working with a manager or director level contact. It's just worth the question at the end of a call or even in the middle of a call, just, hey, so-and-so, would it be helpful to have a follow-up demo or a follow-up conversation around the outcomes or goals with a member of your executive team? I'd love to get in touch directly with the sponsor of this project. That's a good word you can use is there someone specific sponsoring this project that would like to see a demo of what we can do? Is there someone who's overseeing the business outcomes to this project that we should be including in these conversations? That's a polite way to ask. Would you be willing to bring in your executive resource to a future demo or a future call so we can discuss again, goals, objectives, outcomes, or demo the features and products so that they can see that as well. So that's a good question is, who would be sponsoring this project, and then would that person be interested in joining the next conversation? And then just shut up and let the contact guide the conversation from there. And I think usually most people are receptive to that. And if there's a reason not to bring the executive in, they'll usually let you know at that point. And it's one of those things that if you continue to be persistent, eventually you'll get it. Another approach that I've been taking, and I learned this about a year ago, and have been using it quite a bit, is executive peering. So if you have execs that aren't involved in the cycle, maybe offer to bring in your vice president of sales or vice president of customer success, or really any leader that you have access to that might be willing to jump on a 30 or 60-minute call. And the way you kind of package that to the contact is, what if we got, I'd be willing to bring leadership on my side if you can bring leadership on your side. Again, the term for this is executive peering. But the idea is that in some cases, these execs on the prospect side or the customer side want to interact with someone that's at their same level, or at least has a similar title and is a manager and things like that. They don't necessarily want to spend time on the phone with an account executive or an inside sales specialist or something like that. So if you can offer up, hey, I've got access to a leader on my side that can jump on, maybe bring the leaders on your side so we can make sure that there's mutual alignment between what we have to offer and what the goals are on this project. So that's another tactic to get connected into other contacts. And then of course, join that call and build that relationship on your own as well. But you're also building other threads within, your own company. I've heard this said a lot before, which is the best software sellers, the best enterprise sellers are the ones that know how to manage their own internal org and get as many resources pulled from their internal org versus versus just managing how to, navigate an external org. So think about that for a minute. Is some of the best reps are the ones that know how to use their own internal resources, whether that's leadership, tools, collateral, everything from like a demo environment to just everything at their disposal from the inside, being able to present that as a solution on the outside can be a real game changer when you're running these deal cycles. So those are a couple ideas for multi-threading your deals. Reach out if you need any help on that, or if you have any follow-up questions, but best of luck selling here through the holidays, and hope you're all well. Thanks.